Selina, what are the details that we know of this legislation?
That's right, Heidi. This legislation has actually been a high priority for both parties. Pressuring Beijing over Hong Kong and human rights has been a rare area of overwhelming bipartisan support. So this legislation sanctions Chinese officials cracking down on dissent in Hong Kong, as well as financial institutions working with those Chinese officials that the U.S. determines are interfering in Hong Kong affairs. It gives a sort of year-long grace period for those businesses to stop doing business with those individuals. But after that, the Treasury Department can impose penalties, including barring top executives from entering the U.S. and restricting the ability to engage in U.S. dollar-denominated transactions. It also requires the State Department to report to Congress every year about officials who seek to undermine the one country, two systems principle, and it gives the president the power to seize the assets of those individuals and block their entry to the United States.
Of course, we have seen a lot of international pushback on Beijing's recent move, not only from the U.S. The U.K.'s offer of a path of citizenship for around 3 million Hong Kong residents still stands. How has Beijing responded to this?
China has hit back, questioning the UK's right under the Joint Declaration Treaty to offer a home in the UK for these Hong Kong residents. In fact, China's foreign ministry spokesman said that, quote, China strongly condemns that and reserves the right to make further reactions, and all the consequences shall be borne by the UK side. Now, Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called the national security law a clear and serious breach of the 1984 handover treaty between London and Beijing, and had promised nearly 3 million Hong Kongers new visas and a path to citizenship after China had enforced the national security law in Hong Kong. Under that UK plan, the status of British national overseas passport holders would be upgraded to offer them a path to citizenship, and those passports already held by some 350,000 people in Hong Kong, and another 2.5 million are eligible for them. But experts say that legally there are potential problems here in implementation. For instance, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab said that the UK has to be, quote, realistic about what British authorities could do in the case that China tries to block people from Hong Kong from traveling to the UK. But what is clear here is that this dispute over the national security law is sending relations between the UK and China to the lowest point in decades, and this has wide ramifications. For instance, Chinese investments in key UK infrastructure is now being put under intense scrutiny, and tensions are also growing between British officials and banks that have endorsed this new security law.